Welcome to the Learning Adda, the magical pen. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a young girl named Mia. Mia was a kind girl, but she wasn't very good at writing stories. She loved reading books filled with tales of brave knights, talking animals, and faraway lands. However, when it came to writing her own stories, Mia found it very difficult. She would sit at her desk, holding her pencil, but the words just wouldn't come. One day, while walking home from school, Mia noticed something shiny lying in the grass by the side of the road. Curious, she bent down and picked it up. It was a beautiful pen, unlike any she had ever seen. The pen was made of gold and had tiny, sparkling jewels on it. It felt warm in her hand as if it had a life of its own. Excitedly, Mia rushed home and sat at her desk. She opened her notebook and decided to try writing with the pen. As soon as the pen touched the paper, something amazing happened. The pen began to move on its own, writing words across the page. Mia watched in awe as the pen wrote a story about a brave little bird who saved its forest from a terrible storm. The words flowed effortlessly, creating a beautiful tale that was even better than the stories Mia read in her books. She couldn't believe it. The pen was magical. It could write the most wonderful stories all by itself. Mia spent hours with the pen, watching it create stories about dragons, princesses, and hidden treasures. Every story was different, and each one was more amazing than the last. The next day, Mia took her notebook to school. She showed her teacher, Mrs. Brown, the stories that the magical pen had written. Mrs. Brown was amazed at how good the stories were. She praised Mia and told her she had a special gift. Mia smiled, but she knew the real secret was the magical pen. As the days went by, Mia's classmates noticed that she was always writing in her notebook. They asked her about it, but Mia was afraid to tell them about the magical pen. She didn't want anyone to take it away from her. But one day, Mia's friend, Zoe, came to her with a sad face. Mia, she said, I have to write a story for our class project, but I don't know how to start. Can you help me? Mia felt bad for Zoe. She was always kind to her, and she knew how hard it was to write a story. She hesitated for a moment, but then she took out the magical pen and handed it to Zoe. Here, try this, Mia said. Zoe took the pen and began to write. Just like with Mia, the pen started to move on its own, creating a beautiful story about a garden full of magical flowers. Zoe's eyes lit up with happiness as she watched the story unfold on the paper. Wow, Mia! This pen is amazing! Zoe exclaimed. Mia smiled and told her about the pen's magic. Zoe was thrilled, and she promised to keep the secret. From then on, Mia shared the magical pen with all her friends. They took turns writing stories, each one more wonderful than the last. But as time passed, something strange happened. The more Mia and her friends used the pen, the less it wrote on its own. Slowly, The pen stopped moving by itself. The magic seemed to be fading. Mia was worried. She didn't want the magic to end. But then, something surprising happened. When the pen stopped writing on its own, Mia and her friends began to write their stories by themselves. They had learned so much from the magical pen that they no longer needed its help. Their stories were just as good, maybe even better, because they came from their own hearts and imaginations. Mia realized that the true magic wasn't in the pen, but in the joy of creating stories and sharing them with others. From that day on, Mia and her friends continued to write wonderful stories. They learned that everyone has a special gift inside them, and with practice and a little bit of courage, they could do amazing things. And so, the magical pen was put away in a special box, not because it was no longer needed, but because Mia and her friends had discovered the magic within themselves. Moral of the story: the true magic lies not in what we possess, but in the creativity and courage within us. With practice and belief in ourselves, we can achieve wonders. Thank you for watching to The Magical Pen. I hope you enjoyed the story and learned something valuable. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that help you improve your English while inspiring your heart.